everybody, and welcome back to the official Paradise Podcast. I am Ryan Michelle Bathé, and today we are incredibly lucky to be joined by the two actors who, gosh, we know that they are some of the best actors, like, on the planet. We have Julianne Nicholson and Thomas Doherty together to discuss the incredible 7th episode and all of the chaos that takes over every inch of Paradise, which is now streaming on Hulu and Hulu on Disney+. Thank you both for being here. I'm a huge fan of both of you guys together, individually, all of your work, your body of work, everything. And so it's a pleasure for me to be able to talk to you guys. And I get very excited because this is every fan's dreams to be able to, like, you know, dig in there and just ask all the questions that you want to ask. So I'm going to just jump right in. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay, my first question is, I was thinking, I can't remember your name. We've come to know you so much as Sinatra. Everyone refers to you as Sinatra.
Yes.
And by the time we get to 207, the only other person who calls you anything is your daughter, and she says, Mom.
Yes.
And it's so interesting because she says, Mom, are you Sinatra? And it's like, of course. But so you know what I mean?
So,
it's like we forgot.
So my name is Samantha Redmond.
Thank you.
And I think actually Link when we first meet, he says,
Samantha Redmond. I had my money on President Bradford.
he's walking in.
Okay.
Yeah. But you're right. Actually, thank God I remembered.
Yeah, I'm
Would
very
have been awkward if I
impressed.
didn't. But normally, yeah, it's Sinatra. She responds to us, Sinatra.
Do you know where Sinatra came from?
Yes, it's because Cal's dad, Kane, says Cal is like Peter Lawford.
You're only in the band because of who you're related to.
Jesus.
Yeah. He says you're Sinatra, by the way. The clear leader, the one.
I don't know about that. It was in reference to his own son.
Now I remember, yes. And it's so musical because, like, there's Sinatra, there's Elvis, there's Presley, there's Graceland, and then, of course, the Phil Collins of it all.
Yeah.
You know, and then the 80s music.
When I first watched the first season, I was floored by the music of the show and how much it just makes us all better. Like, the mood, the tone, the vibe. I just think Sid does such an incredible job.
He's the best.
Yeah, and it's just like, I get goosebumps sometimes when the next thing starts. I'm like, oh my God, they've only just gone and done it again.
I know.
It's such a huge part of the show.
And a beautiful part of the show. Okay, I have to know, and I'm just gonna, again, jump right in. At the top of 207, what does Sinatra think is going to happen? Like, how does she think that this is all gonna play out? Because I always thought it was interesting that she knows that these guys are here. You know they're here. And then you still take this, what we have no idea is hours, right? Because we think, when we see you get in the little tram, you travel basically to the other bunker in Colorado, right?
Yes.
So what makes Sinatra go, all of this chaos is happening, we talk about the chaos, I gotta go.
Without giving too much away, she's working with time. She feels like she's got time on her side, actually, at a certain point, and just has to allow a lot of these things to play themselves out and then sort of figure it out as she goes. But there are surprises along the way that, you know, she was not expecting and that throw her for a loop.
What makes it so wonderful, and you guys are always so great. Everyone on this show is like, well, it's not me, it's the actors. And you guys are like, it's not us, it's Dan. And I'm watching, I was like, it's pretty much everybody.
It's a collab.
Like, standing in front of her acting is ridiculous. Like,
Now,
it's
what was it like to
it's
act
so
with her
ridiculous.
and with Sinatra? Like, you've got Julianne, which is the monster that she is as an actress. But then you have who you know her to be as Sinatra.
So annoying. And I'd be in the gym. It's kind of weird, but I'd have Julianne's face. I'd look at it and know it and work out as Link to get that kind of rage and energize my rage toward this woman.
Wow.
Interesting.
And then I met her,
Right?
and I was like, oh, the cheekiest, loveliest, funniest person, doesn't take the work so seriously, doesn't take herself seriously. And I was like, this couldn't be more opposite to Sinatra.
Right.
The minute camera's ready, this drop-in that happens, I'm like, it's incredible.
Aw.
But how intimidating is it? I mean, she obviously, you're very disarming, you put everybody at ease, but how do you get over that intimidation? Or does Julianne help you get over it?
Yeah.
Does it exist when she drops in and is Sinatra?
100%. But it's like an amazing opportunity she provides for me
Uh-huh.
to like then jump into Link and like really be there and be in it and have this amazing experience with an incredible actor.
So at the end of 207, that's when we have our big moment where where the
Yes.
audience is clued into the fact that this could potentially be her son.
Yes.
How, we have no idea. Some of
Yes.
us may be thinking it has something to do with Alex. We don't know.
Yeah.
But what was that moment like for both of you guys as actors, but also as the characters? Because you know a lot more in that moment than he does,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But also, when you say Alex, what do you think you mean to her? Like, are you guys talking about the same thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was my question watching
we're
it.
talking about the same thing,
Yeah.
and we know. But I play dumb. Like I don't know anything that he's talking about.
Which is my favorite thing that Sinatra does. I was like, when Sinatra plays dumb, it is.
But I
it is
know
the
that
best.
she's playing them.
Yes, you do. It's clear that, you know, but I was
And
like,
I
are
know
they-
that he knows that I'm playing dumb.
And I know.
and on and on.
And the audience knows that both of you know that everybody's playing dumb. But you are, because there was a moment when I was like, are they talking about, or I wondered if you thought that Alex was something that Alex wasn't. It's left muddy on purpose.
Yeah.
So what was the moment like when it was like that moment? What was that like for you? Because you're like, wait, what?
He says,
Dylan, let's go.
Your name is Dylan?
I found it very moving because I find it heartbreaking that Sinatra's lost her son, and it just like continues to inform everything. Like I cannot get over that heartbreak for her. And so to think in that moment, you know, to have that, I feel like Sinatra's already been charmed by this person, even though they're at like a little like hard place right now when he does bring up Alex. But I think at first she's sort of like, okay, what is this kid up to? And she's impressed because he's got all this people under him. He's, you know, been surviving outside. I found it very moving and like heartbreaking, this possibility. So it was really, it felt like a big deal. It felt very moving to me to film that and to look across the scene at Thomas, look into his eyes, and to just like remember the little boy that played young Dylan, and just imagine him now being this person. It was really, I feel so lucky to have been able to play this character, like start to finish. There's just so much to her.
Yeah, I'm enraptured as you're talking about it, because it's like I can see in that moment what I saw on Sinatra's face. Of all the things we've seen on Sinatra's face, all I could think when I watched it was, this is what he would have looked like. This is what he would have, because I would imagine, like, as a mother, like, that's what you're thinking at every year is, they'd look like this now.
Yeah.
They'd be like this now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I think, you know, it's been part of her hope all along, like the little tiny kernel of a dream, of a possibility. And maybe it's happened. Like, all these years later. It's pretty crazy.
Crazy, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm getting chills. I'm getting chills. What was the dynamic like for you in that moment when she's doing this kind of like, I mean, because up
I
until
think she's
now,
playing
been,
with me.
Really?
Yeah, I think she's deploying some trickery.
Really?
Yeah, to manipulate. And so I'm just absolutely not giving you anything. I'm not buying it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give you an inch with this. And then,
you get the bloody nose.
yeah.
You get it.
You've been getting the bloody noses,
Yeah.
and Xavier's been getting bloody noses too.
Yeah.
So the bloody, do you have an,
So that's the difference. That's the point where it becomes.
does Link have an inkling?
No, not in that. Not then. No.
Okay.
Not then. Theoretically,
Right.
you know. And then she's saying this, and it's like, shut up. Stop trying to throw me off. What are you trying to do? So there's like there's an absolute shutdown.
What does it feel like to play someone who we don't expect her to be surprised? Do you know what I mean? What's it like to play someone who kind of sort of knows it all, but still doesn't have any answers?
I thought that was a beautiful moment, actually, because, you know, we can try. Her thing in season 1 especially was just control. When her son was killed, it's like she cannot let anything like that touch her family like that again. So, but even we can't control everything. No matter how much money you have, you know, no matter how much power you have, it's still like life happens. And so I think it's really beautiful when you see, in particular, the moment of recognition of who she thinks this person is. I feel like it's just adding to her complexity and her humanity that she can still be surprised. And I thought that was a really lovely, lovely moment.
What I love about Sinatra and how you've played her is that towards the end of season 1, when we realized that she's the true big bad in all of this, I was like, oh. And when Xavier had the gun, I was like, get her! She got your daughter! Get her! Get her! You better get her! I mean, it's like, get her! Right? So I'm literally like, and then when I first met you, I was like,
I know.
I don't like Sinatra, you know? And then I feel this the entire, the last half of the season, all of season 2. When did you make us fall in love with you again?
That is so, bless you. So I think that's the magic of Dan. I think he just knows. He's just like, we're just like his little puppets, and he's just bringing us all on this ride. Like I'm relieved to hear you say that, because, you know, I think that was the hope, that people would care. And that was my hope too, because you can't actually, you know, you don't know. Like, you can write this thing and craft this thing, but you know, it doesn't always hit the way you want it to. So I'm delighted that you care about her in the end.
Well, even just as, for me, the turn in 207 happens because you're so funny. In 207, there's like a lot of, like, the humor starts to come back to you even before the end of 207, right? I mean, I don't know if that was conscious or purposeful, or if there was a sense of Sinatra. I don't know, but something before all of this happens, there's an unmooring that starts to happen with your character that I felt like viscerally, and I couldn't put my finger on it and explain it, but maybe you can help us.
Yeah, I think it is maybe just a loosening up of control, letting her hair down. And I also think, like, she's so dry. And I think that's the writing. And I just would try to, like, lean into that, because I think she's very funny. But I didn't play it like funny. I didn't know that until I watched it, actually,
Really?
that she was funny. Yeah, her delivery, her view on the world, I think she's a bit jaded. I think you're right. I mean, there is, like, the tragedies that have befallen her, and life is hard, and she's let that, like, harden her a bit. And then I feel like she starts letting go more and more of that in season 2.
Very much so. And it's almost like Sinatra doesn't realize it's happening.
For sure.
You know, right?
She has no idea.
This is why women should always be in charge. Jane, I don't think she's stable. So not all women.
And I feel like there is something meta that happens. I feel like when you wake up, something has shifted.
That was intentional, because that was like, okay, she's held so tightly through all of season 1. And then there's that big, you know, climax in 108 when Xavier's got the gun on her and she gets shot. And then she's out. She's out. She's injured. She's been taken out.
Right.
And so it's coming back from a place of vulnerability, which she's not felt in a long time. And so it's sort of starting from that place and having to sort of claw back some power, but still that sort of, you know, she's just more easily affected by everything.
Thank you both for
Is that
being here.
again?
I know.
These are way too fast, guys.
I keep telling you. The point is that you guys are incredible, and, like, you're helping us tee up the big finale, and, like, just thinking about everything that happens, you know, and being able to sit here and work it out with the two of you has been just wonderful.
Have you seen the last
So love
episode
it.
yet?
Yeah.
Have you? Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
Buckle up, buttercups. Ooh. Welcome back to Hulu's official Paradise podcast, and we're talking episode 207. And I am delighted to now be joined by one of my favorite actors on the planet, on the show, in the Paradise universe, at the end of the world, Krys Marshall.
Oh, hi, Ryan.
Agent Robinson is here in the house. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. I am so glad you're doing this.
It is my holy charge. What can I say? What can I say? Yes. What's it like to have such amazing dialogue? Like, what's it like to, like, be able to live in something that's so well written?
It feels both like a ton of responsibility, like you've been given something really, you know, good and juicy to hold on to. And then there are also days when I feel like I'm not up for the challenge, and I'm like, oh my God, I feel distracted. I feel like I can't keep my lines in my head. But then I'm reminded that I am standing on the shoulders of really terribly good story writing. And so I can sort of release some of the reins around that. And as a Capricorn, I don't like releasing no reins. So knowing that like, okay, I don't have to add sauce to this. You know, I can kind of let the story play and be a conduit through this story rather than manipulating and sort of holding on tightly to this.
I love that because it makes me think about something I've been wanting to talk to you about, the shift. Because we got to talk about the Robinson shift. You know, the first time we see her, like, let me just take you guys back. The first time we see you is, you know, you've been very buttoned up this whole time, you know? And the personality that has been able to shine through in season 1 was very much a woman who takes her job very seriously, right? And then we end up with quite literally
A vigilante.
F you,
Yeah.
F your mama, F your Bill, F your mountain, F Colorado. I'm gonna just watch it all burn because you know, like I want to talk about that. I want to talk about that from the point of view of you. Like, give me the layers to that because I was sitting there when you were like, I don't even care. I was like, I felt that in my soul.
You know what? I think it is really just so delicious to get to play a character who is multi-layered in this way. And I'm really grateful to Dan because oftentimes when you see a woman in a story, when you see a Black woman in a story, it can be very sort of painted with primary colors. You know, she's angry, she's a love interest, you know, just very sort of simple. And so I think my work in Robinson season 1 was holding on to the duality of this woman who is a very honorable person, who's also sleeping with a married man, who is a very valiant person, who's also screwing her boss. You know, that's like these crazy sort of juxtapositions of who she is and how does that all get married into one. That same work was required of me for season 2, where it's like, this is a person who has left behind everybody she knows and loves to truly give her life to this service, to this, you know, greater good of 25,000 people who are the last folks standing on earth. So when you so align yourself to this one idea, and then you basically are sort of responsible for burning it all down, like, how do you compute? And for me, I think she just sees the hypocrisy in all of it, sees the falsehoods in all of it. You know, it starts off, I think, in season 1 of seeing the guns and realizing, like, wait a minute, we actually do have guns here.
Right, I forgot about that.
I've been lied to. I'm the one who's supposed to be most responsible, most senior here. And now there's an underlying world that I don't know about. I can't trust what I'm seeing. And then when we start to execute our coup at the end of season 1, and we see that this is all an inside job, I discover in season 2 that Julianne's character Sinatra is responsible for the death of our newly president, former vice president. I'm just realizing that, like, none of this is what I thought it was. And so I think she keeps her same North Star, which is to protect the people of planet Earth. And it's just got to be in a different way. And so now protecting them used to mean protecting this, and now protecting them means exposing this.
I love that. I also love where you show us, because we don't get to see much of you and Cal. We only see you and Cal as not necessarily a plot device, but like as a way of kind of figuring out this murder mystery, right? Because we don't see you guys really together. But we see how you felt about him through his son.
What up, Shawshank?
It felt like to me that Robinson had to push through something to get to him.
Yeah.
And it was her love for Cal that was like, I'm going to push through whatever because I know that regardless, this was the thing he loved most in the world. And
Right.
that's the only way that I can. So I feel like that was how we got to see how much you actually really did love him.
Well, I'm just so grateful for the writers in our room because, you know, when we leave off the relationship, we know that there's something more there. We know that there is love there, but he's never had a chance to express it, and neither is she. So for me, it felt like a ton of justice and closure to that relationship to acknowledge that this is a real meeting of two minds, of two equals who loved each other very much.
We can get a divorce and you and I can do all that romantic shit together. We can hold hands in public and talk about our love languages. All of it. I want all of it with you.
And because he was taken early, they never got to express that. So I think there is no greater way to honor somebody who you love than to look after their loved ones. But yeah, Jeremy's an annoying little shit. okay, he totally is.
He
You know,
totally
it's a pain in the
is.
butt. He's like every 18-year-old on the planet where they think they have all the answers.
Hey, no, there is no us. Okay, this doesn't involve you.
And so he's not an easy person to be responsible for. But ultimately, my love for Cal and the connection that we had translates to my caregiving for Jeremy, even if he doesn't want it.
It's just so crazy to me. This is why I think this was so special about the show. In the midst of okay, what do we have? We've got the end of the world.
Sure.
In the midst of that, you have one of the most simple, like, stories of human connection.
Sure.
Right? Which is two human beings who need each other, who don't want to need each other. Right? Which is what you guys are. Like, you don't want to help him or need him and invest, and he certainly doesn't want it from you. And I see that moment on your face where you're like, not my business, not gonna do it. Girl, you know that's a lie. Like, I saw each of those things on your face. Like, you know, like, what was Robinson, was she really feel like, am I right, is what I want to say. Because that's what I saw. Am I right?
Well, I mean,
just tell me.
You know, so it's that moment where he's got this totally ill-advised plan that makes no sense. Him and his buddy are going to just break out. Like, this is crazy. And then I look and I'm like, he is going to need a hand with this.
Hey!
So let me go and help him. Hey! It's not what I would like, of course not. But, you know, we become unlikely bedfellows in that way, where he and I both have the gumption and the fervor to say, like, we got to get out of here. So let's go and do it. And, you know, Charlie, who plays Jeremy, is just so fun to work with. I mean, he's wise beyond his years. He's really clever. And he was easy to hate. He made himself easy to hate.
And let's talk a little bit. I want to talk about two things regarding that. But the first thing is, where did this sardonic, witty, like, where did Miss Deadpan comedy come in? This? Like, who would have known in season 1 that this is what Robinson had in her and that this is what she needed? So, like, I mean, because at every turn, I mean, I think you call him, like, Shawshank, Andy Dufresne. Like, you're a regular, like, one-liner comedian there in the midst of all of this.
You know, she, as the kids say, no F's given, right? She's just like, fresh out of F's to give. I think a lot of women experience this in the workplace, where if you're in an all-male environment, there's a version of you has show up that is the most impenetrable and buttoned up and perfected version. And the side of you that is silly and maybe at times sardonic, she has to take a back seat because that part of you has vulnerabilities and you don't want to show those vulnerabilities. And so I think now we see the artifice strip away. Externally, I'm surprised you haven't asked him about the hair change.
Wait, well, I was leading into that. I had a whole structure, girl. I was saying,
you know,
that's for last.
Michelle is on her book tour talking about what it means to be a Black woman, to change your hair.
I know.
And the ways in which you're perceived differently. So let me just lob that into the air because I can't help it.
So
Let's
let's
talk
get to
about it.
that moment, because the way I was going to ask you is this. I knew when your hair was in the towel, I knew exactly what was coming. Now, I don't know if a lot of people knew it was coming. I'm going to just leave it to you because I knew everything that happened in that moment. And I also know that there was probably Krys.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. So
right.
It starts off with, and I'm going to talk about from the actor's perspective. When a Black actress gets on a set where she feels heard, reasonable, understood, appreciated, she's able to make those suggestions. So that scene actually wasn't initially in the script.
That was my go ahead, girl.
But because I feel very empowered by our EPs, by Dan, by Sterling, my voice is important in this room, I'm reading this and I thought, you know, we can't just have this be incidental that this changes. Can we have some moment where she makes this change? So Nadra, who's a Black woman, is one of our writers. She and I talked about what the scene looked like, and it's such a small scene, and I love that it resonated with you. Of course it did. But I think, you know, going back to story and taking it away from me, my sort of thought about it was, when is the moment where she decides she doesn't need to play this game?
Right.
This game of assimilating hairstyle and sort of conformity, this Washington game, all of these things. Like, where does she start to shift and choose her most authentic self? So we made that choice, and then we talked about where that would play, and does it just show up at the beginning of the breakfast scene, which is the very next scene, with Presley in the morning.
Okay, here. I see it. Thanks. I needed a change.
But we decided, no, let's show that little quick moment of the journey of, I'm not going to plug in this, hot iron. I'm going to let this be. And so I think what's important to me as an actor is that not every part of the story has to be for every part of our audience. And it's okay.
Say that one more time.
Mm-hmm. Not every part of the story has to be for every part of the audience.
Right.
So that part was a clue into Robinson, specific to our community. And at the same time, everybody knows what that's like. So whether it's putting on makeup or not, or whether it's putting on heels or wearing flats, there are ways in which women throughout their day, every day, make choices about how they want to show up, what level of effort means to them, et cetera, wherever they go. So I just thought this is a really cool thing. And to have that idea be so well received and like, yes, let's do it. Let's make time for the scene. It was one of many moments where Robinson makes that choice.
That was what I thought was so wonderful about that moment, because the straightening of the hair makes so much sense when you're trying to climb this very Washington ladder, which is so interesting to me because that moment to me signals not just a change in you, but a change in what this is in terms of, Baines really believes that he's now somebody.
Do not underestimate me, Samantha. I am in charge now.
Right. You know what I mean? It's what humans do. And I think that's so fascinating about the show, because everyone just really believes, well, okay, we're safe. So now we're going to keep playing the game. And when you don't plug that in, to me, it's almost like this is the beginning for real.
Right.
And while we've tried to recreate this kind of like you said, the Washington corporate ladder, there's this moment where you're like, what ladder?
None of this is real.
None of this is real.
No, we're
exactly.
like, we've decided that these things have value.
Right.
That diamond has value and quartz doesn't, or whatever. And I think.
And power has value.
Exactly.
Which I think we see happening in season 2 is like, what is truly power at this point? And what power do you have if you don't have the power to save the people you love?
Exactly.
If you don't have the power to even try to protect the people you love,
right?
Which I think is back to your decision-making process to save the last connection you have to the last thing or person that you love. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, truly, Cal was like the last living person, and then you have this kid, right?
Right.
And you're out of F's to give.
Right, completely out.
Your hair isn't straight.
All
but
of it.
Also, thank God your hair wasn't straight, because you imagine being thrown in jail without your flat iron.
That
would have been a
part.
rough transition.
You know what? It would have been rough. I would have had to go there.
Well, we're glad that you did not have to go there, and we're glad that we were able to do that. And might I say, at the end of the day, it looked beautiful.
Thank you.
You looked really beautiful. It was cute. It was sassy. It was fun. It was all of those things.
Thank you.
But speaking of sassy, my other thing that I wanted to ask you about, but when did you start going, this bitch Jane? Like, because there was a moment when that's how it, because I know that's how it started. It might not have been she's a psychopath, she done killed a whole bunch of people, but there was a moment you were like, this bitch.
You
right?
know.
So what was it when she said,
Ew. Let's go.
Yes, Miss Daisy. Jane burns me up. I mean, and it's so fun to play because Nicole is such a sweetheart.
isn't she the sweetest?
So it's so hard
Isn't
to
she the
imagine hating somebody who is just such a doll in real life. But, I look back and I think that there were inklings of her that felt dubious even in season 1. But I don't think that I had caught total wind of it. But it's the start of season 2.
Xavier?
Yeah.
Hello?
Hey, you okay?
And it's a flashback moment. And, Sterling is just hook, line, and sinker, eating up all the crap that she's spitting out. And I'm like, come on, brother. And there is something about her that is this sort of damsel in distress thing. And I think at times young women are able to play and older men are not able to see. And I think he sees her as this sort of widow to Billy and feels protective of her. And there's just something about her that feels artificial and that feels put on. So even in that brief moment where she's hugging him and she's like, I'm just so distraught, and it just doesn't ring true.
How'd you know to go over there?
I don't know. I guess I heard chatter on the comms and I I had an instinct that maybe Xavier needed backup, and I just...
You know, because I'm a woman who's also lost the love of her life. And so I'm seeing
And
how
you got
she's
to-
kind
you
of
kept
playing.
your shit
I kept it together.
You kept it together,
I had
right.
to keep it together.
And you didn't have
And
the
I see
benefit
her
of the
kind of come
tears.
undone. And I'm
Mhm.
like, you're really coming undone in a way that looks a little too leisurely here. So I think that's the beginning of like starting to suspect. And then I also see her placate. You know, I see her placate Baines and tell him he's doing a great job. And other folks may not think so, sir, but I think you're doing wonderfully. And I see her do the same to Sinatra. And so I don't find out early that, you know, she's a killer. But I think, you know, Robinson is good at her job. That's how she got to be the most senior woman in security detail for the president, is being able to pick up those little cues. And so I see her tell early on with the falsehoods, the flattery, it's suspicious. And then, of course, I catch her in the midst of slitting this old man's throat.
Not Baines, not Baines. You know, but you know, it was what it was, and I'm glad you have no F's to give and made it at least out of the prison. And we'll see what happens to you guys.
I
in
know. I mean, this
208,
I will
but-
say that both 7 and 8, they just drive.
don't they?
They feel like you can't catch your breath. Like as an audience, you're just like, give me a minute, give me a little slow scene. And then it just keeps going and going and going. And sort of like, it feels like you're on a treadmill that you can't keep up with.
No, it really, like, truly, like, and you feel your heart and you know what I mean? And you just want to breathe and you're in it with the characters because they can't breathe either.
They don't have a moment's
They
rest.
don't have a
So you
moment's
don't get one
rest.
either.
Bingo. Well, we have been talking a lot about Jeremy
Yeah.
and how great he is and how fun he was to work with. And we have Charlie Evans here in studio with us. So the wonderful thing is we get to bring him out. He's not just here hiding away. We're going to talk to him.
Fabulous.
Yeah. Welcome back to the podcast. Again, we have the fabulous Krys Marshall, and we are joined by the ultra talented, wonderful, I cannot wait to get into this conversation, Charlie Evans, who plays Cal's son, Jeremy. And Charlie, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being
Good to be
here.
here. Yeah, no, I was surprised and very happy to get the offer.
I've always wanted to know, do you think Jeremy decides to do what he's doing? Yes, because he believes in it, and yes, because it's, you know, the right thing to do. But I often wondered, is it his way of connecting with a dad that he maybe took for granted a little bit?
I think it's more that, you know, his father left him with a message to make a change that he always complained about or sulked about as a teenager would.
You never stood up. You never fought back. You knew what was coming, and you kept it to yourself. That makes you complicit.
But I think being put in this very high pressure situation, he's forced into taking action, you know? I think he is his father's son in terms of wanting to do the right thing and having that drive to make that step. And he certainly tried. I mean, no one knows if busting the doors open was the right thing to do, but he certainly thought so. And I think that was his effort to not fill his father's shoes, but sort of try his best to pick up where he left off, I guess.
And at the end of season 1, you know, he makes you that mixtape and says,
Jeremy, you don't like this world I built.
Fix it.
I think it's the same thing he's always said. It's just that he hadn't heard it since his father died, you know? And I think that hearing that voice and these lessons that had just been put in his head his entire life suddenly have such a different meaning now that he doesn't have that person anymore. You know, I think it's more that it just finally clicked. You know, his dad is always just like, be a better man than me. And then I guess Jeremy was always like, well, why don't you do it? And I guess now he hears that and he goes, well, he can't. So I guess I have to. I think that's what clicked, was just the same message, completely different circumstance. So yeah, I think he gained insight into his father, but I don't think he admires him as much as he wants to understand him. You know, I think he wants to be a peer to his father rather than idolize him.
That's a really good point, because that leads us to you guys.
Yeah.
Because this is the first time that you actually have to be in close proximity and space to her. So what was that like?
you know, I would imagine seeing the woman who broke up a marriage probably from Jeremy's perspective, can't feel great, you know?
Oh, 1000%. I mean, and you know, from your perspective, everything you say is correct. I mean,
That I'm a side piece?
I mean, girl, you know,
That's not correct,
I tried
ma'am.
to pedal into it kind of softly, but you know, I'm saying from his perspective, from the outside
Jeremy,
looking
yeah,
in.
from a
I
character
mean, right.
point of view.
Also, I saw season 1, and
it was side piece
ma'am,
activities?
okay, can we just be honest? Ma'am, it was giving side piece. It truly was. It really was.
I don't want any more of your trinkets.
What? What are you talking about?
I can't do this, Cal. I can't keep coming over here like your hooker.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
I said, okay, Marilyn Monroe, you better be careful with your Mr.
Lord.
President.
Oh, Lord.
I'm glad that you were more than that, and I'm glad you got a chance to tell all the audience that she was not, in fact, a side piece. But from your perspective, though, but seriously, I can imagine how to your point, you've got a plan, right? And in your perspective, from your perspective, it's going really well because, again, reminding the audience, they don't know any of the stuff that's going on outside. That there's this whole siege happening, and that everything you're about to do is literally the worst thing you could do, but you have no way of knowing that. We know that as the audience, right? You know, it's not happy-go-lucky, but it's actually kind of comical.
Well, how do we get the system to register that?
Old-fashioned way.
Let's fucking go.
Yeah.
The way in which you're so convinced that you're doing it right and it's going well and it's going as wrong as it could possibly go, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's a kid. He's a kid just trying to improvise along to a situation that he's never, ever remotely been in. I mean, prior to Paradise, he would have, you know, private school education. He would have been driven to school every day. Like, it's president's son. That's a very different life to everything that's going on. It's a situation you're much more used to, but like, you know, no CIA training, they probably never held a gun, never punched somebody, none of it. So I guess it's just a lot.
I'll just jump in and say that there's a bravery to not having lived the hard knocks of life. You know, there's so many folks in our story who see wrongdoings happening and they're just going, you know, lock and step. And we see it in the conference room tables of, you know, all of Sinatra's cronies and advisors. They are all a group of people who should know better and who should do better. And yet they continue to watch her make mistake after mistake and allow her to, you know, be the sort of oligarch of this town of 25,000. And one of the cool benefits of being young is that you haven't lived all those years to get knocked down. So he's not afraid to sort of put himself on the line and say, I'm seeing something wrong. If you see something, say something, like they say in New York City MTA.
Right.
And he's seeing something wrong happen and saying, this is not okay with me. And I think that sort of bravery is often seen in, you know, younger folks.
Yeah. You guys also, both of you, bring us the two kind of love stories in the show. You know what I mean? You do, like in your way, but also your way. There's like this very sweet, very tender romance, like a teen romance that's happening in the midst of this that I don't think we can forget because it adds so much to the show, I think, because it's so full and it's so rich that it comes off the page. And I think that's a tribute and a testament to you guys.
Thank you. Well, I think Jeremy has much left to work for, you know, like what would he change the world for? The idea of building a better world that maybe his kids can live in as well.
Everybody, can I please get your attention?
I know it's in the back of his mind having the father that he did have, that like, what would I do different? I don't know.
I'm curious about, I guess, a question for Ryan, but a question for Charlie, both from the perspective of someone watching the show and someone playing in the show. What are your thoughts about both Cal and Jeremy having interracial relationships? Like, is it something that crossed your mind as you were playing this?
I hadn't considered it, no. I think it's something that kind of came about from happenstance. I mean, whether like Presley and Jeremy would have happened on the outside world, I think it's a class thing. I think Jeremy would have just been too caught up in his, you know,
small circle.
His small circles and his very elitist, whatever places he would have been in and the rooms he would have been in. He never would have been able to make friends or relationships or meaningful connections outside of that. So I think it kind of opened the door to everybody. Anders, he never would have spoken two words to Anders or anything. So I think it's I think there's a lot of themes about chosen family as well.
Yes.
I think that's a great example of it. But yeah, I hadn't considered it too much.
Ryan, what do you think about the significance of that?
I'm really glad you brought that up because it's so interesting because we talked about the dropping of the artifice of it all. Because to your point, you know, with the grandfather that you have, with, you know,
Who was a good old boy.
who was a good
died
old
in the
boy,
old good old boy.
and was still very power. You know, we can assume that if none of this had happened, he might still have his power and his
Even with the
influence,
dementia.
even with the dementia. You know what I mean? Because you know what they say with the dementia patients, they still remember how to be
Themselves.
good old boys, right? Let's just leave it at that. You know, but I do think it's very interesting that you probably would have fallen right into whatever patterns, right? Like you said, like you'd be still going to the schools. You maybe you would have rebelled, but it would have been a very prescriptive thing. And to your point, you would never have even come into even though she's the daughter of the man that's guarding your father, it's still
It's just a
worlds that
layer
would
of separation.
Yeah, but they just, you know, it's sort of like a church and state kind of a situation. And when that artifice falls and you guys are able to see each other and connect in a way that you would never have done that with your boss in the real world.
Totally.
Ask you a question. Did you vote for me?
No.
Never.
Yeah.
You know, you would have lost everything. He would have lost nothing, right? We see how that goes. And to your point, you're able to see, I think when I watch it as an audience member, I never made even till you just said it, I never made the connection that the father and the son have both sort of chosen these incredibly beautiful melanated queens. Anyway, all of that to say that I just think it's, you know, when you're stuck in these situations, or not stuck, but dare I say, the gift of losing everything is maybe gaining something that you would never have seen in the first place.
Yeah. I mean, something that Charlie just said was about chosen family. And I think the word choice is such an interesting one because, you know, when one grows up in these kind of privileged environments, you would imagine like, oh, you have a million choices. But I think back to where Cal goes and tells his father, I want to be a teacher.
Right.
I don't want to do any of this.
Right.
You know, so we're not talking about love or relationships. We're just talking about how he sees himself in the future. And he's like,
I'm not a teenager anymore. You don't control me.
what you're going to do is you're going to become governor of one state or maybe a senator of another, and eventually we'll get you in the White House. And so the sort of golden handcuffs that men in these environments are given, they actually don't have choice at all. They can't choose their careers. They can't choose their wives or the people that they love.
They can't even choose to do the right thing.
Exactly.
Even when Cal is faced with the end of the world, and everyone knows it's the end of the world, he still has 7 handlers who are like, the president must say these things that are not true. Because you may not get elected. And he's like, elected.
The
There's
world's ending,
nothing
babe.
to,
Yeah.
right? You know? So again, it's like, like you said, the golden handcuffs, and when they finally come off, and we see that in you guys in the mountain, in the bunker in Colorado, and then we see it in the relationships that form outside, you know, outside of this. And yet we can see the beauty in all of that. You know what I mean? So I love that. Thank you for that question. So Annie, on that note, I think that's it for this episode. And I'm gonna stop talking because then I'll start giving away spoilers, because like we know, that's not my forte, is keeping secrets. Thank you, Krys, and thank you, Charlie, and thank you to everyone who's been watching and listening and sticking with us for this 7 episodes of this. And we are down to just one more episode, y'all. I know, right?
I'm just gonna say, I'm gonna tee you up about the finale, that it is so unexpected. I mean, I felt like when I read the finale episode, I couldn't believe we did what we did.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe
talking about it.
I'm
gonna start saying
the
words
dog
I
dies at
shouldn't
the
say.
end.
You know what is that? Same time, same place. We'll see you right here next week for Paradise Season 2 finale. Cut it before I say something. Paradise, the official podcast, is now streaming.
Stream Paradise on Hulu and Hulu on Disney+.